Enchanting is one of the strongest features in Oblivion Remastered. The only thing stronger than it is spellcrafting. But in this video today, we're going to focus on the enchanting mechanic and how it works in the game. If you're new to my channel, the way I do things is by upfronting the knowledge of my videos. So just to kind of give you a down and dirty kind of quick crash course on this, let me go through this enchanting menu. So over on the right here, you can see that we are going to be enchanting one piece of our gear. We're going to be using a soul gem and we're going to put an effect on it. I'm just going to click an effect. I go into more detail later into this video, but in this menu, you'll be able to choose the magnitude, which is the intensity of the effect. So at 3, we will drain 3 health. The area, how much area of effect it will do, and the duration for how long it will work. Basically, to get the damage, you're going to take this number and multiply it by this number. So this will do 3 damage immediately. But if I were to put this number up to just 10, then I'm going to do 3 damage every second for 10 seconds. That is 30 damage. Now, if I go ahead and apply this, the added effect over here, we can see that this number right here, the number out of 40 is the total number of added effects, either through the features right here or individual effects that you can do as a result of this soul gem. This soul gem has a set charge limit. Common soul gem, or the amount of the actual soul in the gem, puts us at 800 charges. This number right here tells us that we can use this effect because of this soul gem 266 times before I have to charge it back up with another soul gem. And this number right here is the cost. So to give you a further example, if I were to take this all the way up to just shy of that, I can see that I can use this effect. It's going to do 19 points of damage every second for 10 seconds. That's 119 points of damage is going to be drained on health on strike. It's going to come back to me, and it's going to take 38 of the 40 available room on this item. It's going to take, I'm going to only have 21 charges of this, and it's going to cost me 380 gold. That's the down and dirty of this entire video. If that's all you wanted to know, I just wanted to give you the too long didn't watch up front, and I want to be respectful of your time, so you can go ahead and shut the video down if that's all you needed to know. You can also navigate to any part of this video that interests you the most, because there's also a lot of layers in this. It is important to know how you add the effects in what order. So for example, here, you'd want to add any weakness effects after this one. But you can jump ahead to any other part in this video using those chapters in both the timeline and the description. If you've not yet picked up Oblivion Remastered, you can use my Fanatical link in the description as well. It will get you a Steam key for 17% off. I make a 4% commission, and it's a great way to support the channel. And lastly, before you head on out, if you are heading on out, don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe, as that helps me out in a huge way. Let's get started on why enchanting is so powerful in Oblivion Remastered. So before we even get into the actual enchanting menu yet again, it's important to know that the ability to actually enchant anything is only based off of your access to that effect. What I mean by that is, here's all these effects. I can do everything here. I have all the corresponding skill to do so. So as long as I go and learn the effect, I'm good to go. But let me go over to this one, weakness to magicka. I don't have enough skill level to use this, so it will not appear in the enchanting menu until I get enough skill level. So it's important to know that you have to get the actual skill. There's a number of ways to do it. You can go to all the corresponding mage guilds, which I have in its own mage guild videos. You can just go jump and find all those. You can go to any of the stones around the world, like for example, the steed stone will give you fortify willpower and fortify speed. What's important to know before we close this section out is any fortify attribute ability you find, if it's fortify luck, if it's fortify speed, it gives you access to all of them because the game considers it a single effect. Conversely, if you were to go and get drain a specific skill, so for example here, I don't think I have any of them. Yeah, if you were to go get like drain destruction, where you drain the skill destruction from someone, it counts as a single effect. So the game will reward you with all of them. So it's a great way to get the enchanting ability online early for you by just simply going and unlocking one of them, and it gives you the rest. So it's a really strong capability. So that's your actual magical effects and how to turn them on. Let's talk very quickly about soul gems as well. So if magic is obviously what we're going to be enchanting with, soul gems are the battery in which we do it. So taking a look at this right here, I'm going to press show details. We have an empty common soul gem. The max a common soul gem can have is 800 charge. If I were to look at this one, this is a full soul gem because it says common soul right there. I'm going to go ahead and click this, and it shows me that this is going to add 800 charge to one of my magic weapons. So I know that that's how that's going to work. You have petty, lesser, common. It's going to go all the way up to Grand Soul Gem or Azura's Star. You will use the spell or any variation of Soul Trap on touch, anything like that, to trap a soul. The soul is then quote unquote trapped for 20 seconds. Once you kill something, it will then place itself into a common soul gem. Now, what's worth noting here is that the charge value on this is 800. If let's say you kill something that is like can only fit in a grand soul gem, it won't fit into a common soul gem. There is a capacity limit. It won't allow you to do it. So you can't basically fill down. You can only fill pretty much like what it allows and up. But you'll pretty much usually find these in accordance with your level scaling. So you're not going to find a grand soul gem unless it's a static spawn in the world, which I don't think there are. I think there's like a very few amount of them. So if you're playing through the game and you're at a point where you're only encountering common enemies, you're going to only encounter common soul gems usually. So don't worry too much about that. So you now know about soul gems, you now know about magic. Let's jump into actually enchanting. So before I even show you enchanting, let me just tell you, you can do enchanting at Frostcrag Spire if you upgrade it. Otherwise, you're going to have to do it once you get into the Arcane University. And I've talked about this in my Mage Guild video, but for the sense of continuity and introducing enchanting to you, I should probably show you where you can do it in the game. Those are the two locations. So I'm over here in the Frostcrag Spire because I'm trying to get access to it quickly. And we have all of our gear that we can enchant. We already did this in the intro, but let me just kind of go through a crash course on the initial portions of this before we get into the weeds on it. You'll select a gear item. You'll select one of your soul gem. And then you'll select one, if not multiple effects, like feather here, and you'll tweak those as you see fit, and you'll pay a certain fee here. Obviously, we can't enchant this one because it's way blown out of proportion, but that's the down and dirty of the actual enchanting process. You can name your enchanted weapon up here as well. So that's how enchanting works on a high level. Let's now drill down specifically into enchanting our weapon first, because that one I feel is the most complex. So we're back at this screen. I've removed that effect, and I'm going to show you, or at least give you an idea of how enchanting can really just get disgusting. So let's take a look at all of our effects, and these are the only ones I have access to right now. We're going to put fire damage on this. And what you can really do with this is know that with any kind of damage, there's a way to kind of get more out of it, right? So if I go ahead and bring this all the way up, let me just put an example. So this is going to last for 1 second, meaning it's only going to do this instance of damage once. So let's put this to 25. So 25, we can see right here that won't even fit on this weapon, right? It's going to cost 46 charge. We only have 40. It's not going to work. But let me do this. All the way down to, because we're doing it at 25, right? 5 magnitude for 5 seconds, which is the same total damage, is 29 out of 40. So this is a way that you can kind of budget damage into a sword or a weapon of any sort by trying to get this online. Just know that anytime you hit someone with a sword, or I'm sorry, with any weapon, if it has this setup, right, where it's 5 damage every second for 5 seconds, hitting them again with the weapon, if this was the only enchantment on the weapon, hitting them again just resets the timer. So it'll do 5 damage again of the fire, but it's not going to add that damage up. But we can add that damage up and have it get disgusting. So we've taken this. I'm actually going to bring this down to 3 seconds because I've workshopped this before. I'm going to put weakness to fire onto here. So what this does is it makes the enemy that we hit with this weapon weak to fire, reducing its fire resistance, obviously. But we want to do this to 100%, because even if they're immune to fire, it's going to remove that immunity and it's going to do double damage, right? Because it's 100%. And I want this to match the duration of our effect. You can see that this doesn't cost a lot, right? This is still, we have it for 100 at 3 seconds, and there you go. So what this is going to do is it's going to enable me to do 5 points of fire damage the first time I hit. The second time I hit, it's then going to increase that fire damage by 100%. So it's then going to become 10. Now that only works once when it comes to elemental damage, specifically elemental damage. And you want to make sure you have any of these weaknesses below the damage that corresponds to them. So if I wanted to do this, I wouldn't want that. I would want it like this. We just always want the weaknesses at the very end. So adding those that additional damage, whatever it is fine. We just want to make sure we put that the weakness at the end of it. And there's one final step to magnifying this even further, but we're going to talk about that in just a second here. But this 3 seconds thing, it's only going to last for 3 seconds. So we just have to make sure we're constantly doing damage for those low second amounts. So we now see, for quick math here again, we're going to do 5 damage in the first hit. The second hit is going to do 10 damage, right? Because our weakness to fire has been applied to the target. So it's going to jump up. I wish I could show you on something that has like a DPS calculator or something like that. I could show you the actual number crunch. I'm using flat numbers. There's obviously going to be damage mitigation, but still. So we're going to amp this up even further now. We have weakness to magic we talked about earlier. I showed it off. I leveled the character up a little bit in between those 2 shots so I could show it here. Weakness to magic is the big important thing here. And you want this to last for more than 1 second, but here I'm just kind of doing it for the video here. We'll bring this to like 2. That's fine. What's going to happen is this is going to work in subsequent order, right? Sequential order. 5, the first hit is just going to do 5 damage. And then the target's going to get weakness to fire on strike. And then weakness to magic on strike, which modifies weakness to fire on strike. So I'm not sure how the computation works, if it's 200% plus 100% or 100, 100, 100, but either way, come the next swing, right? The first swing we did 5 damage. Well, we're going to double the damage from weakness to fire, and then double that damage, and then double that damage. So you see how that does a disgusting amount of damage, right? So I don't know how the doubling works, how the 100% work, but every subsequent swing will do 5 points plus the 100% plus the 100% that is modified onto this 100%. Remember, weakness to fire element will only occur once, but this will keep occurring and it will keep modifying this one. And this number was going to grow and make this even bigger. So while this only works once, otherwise it would be 2 things growing at once, this grows it with every swing. So it goes from 100 to 200 to 300%, right? Plus the additional 100% of this. That is disgusting. So it would go from like 5 plus 200%, right? Which is 20 plus another 100% is 40 damage. And the math might be wrong because I don't know how the modification works percentage wise, but I know that 100% stacks every time we take a swing with this weapon. The problem is you need to have a weapon that has a long enough second time for you to actually interact with this effect. What a lot of people do is just drop this to 1 damage because it doesn't really matter, right? Like, or as low as it can go, because the number is just going to get really big really fast. So that's just out of the purview, right? So if I did like this, it still wouldn't happen, huh? Well, you get the point here. If I were to drop this to that, you'd still be able to stack up tons of damage. Just remember that weakness to magic, every time it strikes, it's going to reset the timer on all these things. So you've got some time. But if you attack this stuff and then move away, now the target has all these weaknesses to fire that were stacked up. They'll all go away. So in rapid succession, this is such a disgusting enchant, and it makes weapon enchanting very, very strong. Very strong. Now, the ultimate argument here is that sigil stones eventually become very strong, and I'll talk about those in a second. But this is the way to really just unlock a ton of player power. You'll be able to craft whatever element you want, multiple elements if you want, but you'll be able to have a lot of fun doing this. Now, This is going to be all dependent upon you finding the effects. So you'll probably want to get the destruction effects and what have you. You'll need to have the proper soul gems like we talked about, and then you'll need to have all the gear that you need. So you put those things together, you'll be able to make your magic weapon. Maybe this thing's called the Soul Igniter, you know, something like that. Whatever it is, you would name it whatever you want. You'd have it be whatever you need to be as far as the element damage, but make sure you put this in order. Element damage on top, weakness to that element damage, and at the very end of your stack, weakness to magic. That is how you enchant your weapons. And one thing here before switching over to armor, just remember there's that cost associated with this. Just make sure you look at this before you apply and enchant something, because if you don't have the money, it's just not going to work. But you can see, though, even this thing is still going to be able to use 20 swings before we have to recharge it, and we're going to get quite a bit out of it. But there is another type of enchant, and it is your armor. So you can see right here we have a steel cuirass. What we're going to do here with that is put another soul gem into it, and then we have all of our effects. So unlike the weapon enchanting, it's very simple here with armor. You just simply choose a single effect. It's all you can choose. And the magnitude of that effect is dependent upon the soul within the soul gem. So a grand soul gem that has a grand old soul in it is going to have a much bigger magnitude to this. So for example, let's just go back to this. I'll remove it. Let's put Detect Life. So Detect Life is going to work for 14 feet. But if I put this down to a petty soul gem, we do Detect Life again, you can see it says 8. So the gem itself determines the magnitude of the armor. It's a very straightforward system. It's very easy to do. Just remember there is that cost associated with it like we talked about. And that is pretty much how Enchanting Armor works. It's very, very straightforward. So how do we recharge our weapons once we've really used them a ton, right? Well, let's go ahead and cycle the details here. We'll see that this weapon is out of charge, right? It's got 2,400 total charge on it, and it's completely out. So we're going to have to go over to one of our soul gems that is not empty, click it, and go ahead and recharge it. And that puts it back online. We can go over to the inventory on that again, wherever the hell it is. Show details, cycle details. You can see it now has 800 charge into it. So a quick section, but a section that's important nonetheless when it comes to enchanting is making sure that you also have the soul gems to recharge all these things that you use. And the game will tell you outright, right? Like, this is going to only have 9 uses left. It's 9 swings of the sword before I've got to recharge it. So we talked about enchanting weapons. We talked about enchanting armor, but we do get one thing whenever you do an Oblivion Gate. It's called a Sigil Stone. Now, before level 17 or so, Sigil Stones might not seem like the best way to enchant something. But if we go ahead and press Show Details and cycle them, you can see at the bottom it says Enchant Gear. So the offensive effect is damage fatigue on strike, so what it will do to weapons. And then the defensive effect, what it will do for armor, is fortify fatigue. These become really, 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 really strong because they're going to level with you. Not like they're going to like be on the level with you. They're going to scale with you. We press Enchant Gear here, and we can go and slap this on. Let's just say this Fine Steel Dagger. And we see what's going to happen with this. If I switch over to a fur helmet, we can see that it shows fortify fatigue on self. So if you don't want to actually interact with the enchant system, simply doing Oblivion Gates gives you access to these Sigil Stones that you just simply put directly. It's a direct enchant. You press this button. You must, oh, okay, well, you know what the name's going to be. The Ignitor, the Soul Ignitor, Soul Caliber. Enchant, there you go. And so now, whatever, yeah, the Soul Igniter right there. I don't know how you spell it. I just wanted to throw an O on there because it sounds dramatic. So that's now damage fatigue on strike. So that's how sigils work. It's not directly enchanting in the sense that you're using the enchanting table, but it's definitely worth mentioning in this video. And it's truly, honestly, the strongest form of enchantment in the game. You just need to get to the point where you're A, doing the Oblivion Gates to get the really good sigils, and B, at a level that you're spawning the best sigils, which is after 17. One last thing I want to talk about before we close the video out are the Doomstones. Now, the Doomstones are these large, across the map. You'll find them everywhere. I'm not even going to show you where this one is because I'm very big on not spoiling things in my videos. You will experience this when you do experience it. You can look it up if you want. This is the Steed Stone, but it will give you an ability. So let's go ahead and talk to it real quick. Marked by a special fate, you rule your destiny. Do you choose to steer by the stars, the steed? Whoops, by yes. The stars of the steed shine upon you. You have gained Hellride greater power. So even if it's a greater power, if we come into magic here and we go into all, we will find Hellride. Where is it? Yeah, there it is. This has Fortify Speed and Fortify Acrobatics. Remember, like I said, the Fortify attributes spells give you access to all of your attributes. So for example, Fortify Strength, you do need Journeyman to get access to. So you should know that getting access, that's going to be difficult as far as getting your restoration up to the ability to use it, but still you can have it unlocked this way so you don't have to go buy the spell. Let's jump back to the enchanting table real quick. So looking back at the table, we can see two things: Fortify Attribute, and I can select Strength, or Fortify, let's go ahead and remove this, Skill. And I can select any skill that I want, because that greater ability, Hellride, gave us Fortify Acrobatics, right? So Drain or Fortify, doesn't matter. It will add any of the Fortify attributes or Fortify skills. It's why we don't see every single one of them on here, right? Otherwise, this would be so long. We just click Fortify Skill or Fortify Attribute. It would be Drain Attribute, Drain Skill. Otherwise, getting one of them gets you all of them. So that's a great way you can get access to it by using that stone, but it's just a way of exemplifying how those fortifications work. One last thing I want to talk about, though, are just some really cool recommendations on items you can choose. So to close us out, let's talk about just generic enchanted items that are quite good. And Feather is going to be something you're going to get access to very early in the game. And Feather is a great thing to get on your armor. But you can do it in one of two ways. You can put it on an armor piece that you're always going to wear, or you can have like a light armor suit, or even clothing, like cloth armor that you put Feather on self on. It makes it so you can carry more, basically kill your way through a whole dungeon, put on your feather suit, then loot the whole dungeon and leave. That's a cool way you can do things. I don't really like to do that. I'd put it more on an item I'm going to wear, because it's just, I'm too lazy to do it otherwise, because this game doesn't have the best way to switch between suits. But another thing you can do here too is, you can go with a different effect. We can go with Fortify Attribute, Strength. This is going to give us, for every point of strength, you get 10 weight. Fortify Strength is technically the better way to add to your carry capacity. What's to note is it is going to take Journeyman skill to cast this, so it's harder to get access to this attribute. It's expensive. That is 800 gold. This, if I bring this back to Feather, this is also 800 gold because of this magnitude, but you get access to Feather immediately. So we could put a petty soul gem in here and do Feather, and it's 350, and we get access to that at level 1. It's easy to turn this on. So that's a piece of armor I really wanted to talk about. Also too, keep in mind, you really don't necessarily want to do any of the damage abilities, but doing something like resist fire or shield is great. Remember, though, shield's magnitude is going to be dependent upon the actual soul gem inside of it, right? So that previous one was 4, this is now 8. Those are really good. And also any of the resists here, those are great because you can stack them in that you can do like resist fire on your helmet and resist cold on your chest piece, or just have enough pieces to get 100% in something depending on your soul gem, right? So if I had enough resist fire common soul gem pieces, I would need 5. It would then give me 100% fire resist, which is really cool. It's a way you can turn on that capability. So those are some armor items you can go with, some weapon items you can go with. I kind of talked about the best one, but really what's cool too is being able to stack up separate sources of elemental damage. And let me throw one cool wild card in here for you. So let's rebuild that last weapon that we did, that really cool one, right? But we're also going to throw on Soul Tap. If you're constantly swinging at something, Soul Tap doesn't need to be for any duration of time. I'm gonna rebuild it in generic numbers here. So this weapon would theoretically do fire damage, then weakness to fire damage, and then weakness to fire magic. So those things would do, it's really cool exponential growth, wombo combo, right? But Soul Trap would also occur, and Soul Trap would make it so that your weapon is going to create Soul Trap on strike. This is only going to last for 1 second, right? So it doesn't, maybe we'd want 2. It doesn't need to be for a long period of time, because Soul Trap will then, that thing that we kill immediately gets bound into a soul gem for us. So this is a way to create effectively a infinite resource battery for your charges, right? You hit with the weapon, it does disgusting amount of damage, and then you kill with the weapon. Well, you soul trapped it with every single strike for 2 seconds. So now it's been lodged inside of a soul gem. That's a really cool way that you can amp things together. Now, another one too, making a hard cut here. There's 2 differences between these 2 abilities. You might think drain health means drain from the target and give to yourself. It does not. Drain health reduces the max health that they've got. So if they have 100 health, you hit them with this weapon, they now have 97 max health for 1 second. So let me just do this. Let me press this up to here. If they have 100 health, you hit them with drain health, then they have 50 max health. That's how that works. And it will come back. Absorb health is the one you want if you want like a life leech capability, right? So if every swing of this weapon, it was going to absorb 10 health from them and give it to me. So if you want to make some sort of health leech, fatigue leech, which my current weapon has, or magical leech, you'd want absorb. Drain just removes it from the target. I'm trying to think of it. I was going to say it in D&D terms, which is, I think it used to be called drain level and stuff like that. I think it was, but it's kind of an older term, right? So absorb leeches, drain is a damage against the maximum, and then X damage is outright damage on something, right? Like fire, frost damage, shock damage, and what have you. But that brings our video here to a close. So hopefully you have a better understanding now of how the enchanting mechanic works. It's very heavy, it's cumbersome, and it's super clunky. And I think really it comes down to the UI. Remember, you have your item, the soul gem that the item has, common soul gem for this example has 800 charge on it, the added effects, and then the total amount of effects charge that can exist, the amount you have configured from the added effects, the amount of uses that your added effects have because of this soul gem, and then the cost. That is pretty much all you really need to know. Just tweak things as you see fit and make it work. Using the damage sliders and the second sliders or the duration sliders are really ways to maximize the amount of damage you can do and minimize the amount of impact on this little portion right here. But if you have any big tips when it comes to enchanting, go ahead and let it be known in the comment section below. Again, it is a dense subject, and we have 20 years of just banging our heads against this to come up with some cool stuff. So again, let it be known below. As always, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.